Hello students, welcome to my class. So in this video, I will be discussing about another important topic under Unit 2, that is metalloproteins as enzymes. Now as the title, it tells you these are metalloproteins, that is proteins which are incorporated by different kinds of metal like copper, zinc, iron, etc. So protein which have a metal in them, so such kind of proteins are called as metalloproteins. And how they act as enzymes, in the body of microorganisms or any type of living forms, even in human beings, enzymes are very important to catalyze different biological reactions in our body, be it like even in digestion, that different enzymes are involved and how they work. So how these metalloproteins they function as different enzymes, that we'll be studying in this video, as well as one more video that will be coming on the same topic. So to begin with, we will start with one first example, that is carboxypeptidases. So carboxypeptidases, there are different classes, class 1, class 2, class 3. Out of that, the second class 2 carboxypeptidases, they are metalloenzymes. And one example is carboxypeptidase A. Okay, so it is an exopeptidase. That means that it hydrolyzes a peptide bond at the carboxyl terminal end of the peptide protein chain. So you know that these polypeptide or protein chain, they are long chain molecule. What is this carboxy? This is an example here how it hydrolyzes. So this is a long chain peptide molecule. And what does this carboxypeptidase do? It hydrolyzes a peptide bond at the carboxyl terminal, so it has a fixed site where it carries out the hydrolysis. So this is the carboxyl terminal, you can see RCO group here. So it carries out hydrolysis at this particular terminal here. Okay, so what does it do? It can break hydrolysis, as mean it breaks this long chain into two single components. So you can see it has carried out the hydrolysis and it has broken this bond here between this peptide chain. Okay, so where is it released? It is released in the pancreas and it is utilized in our body for the digestion of protein. So we know that we consume a lot of protein content food like eggs, milk, meat, etc. And our body, it extracts the protein from it. And what are proteins? Basically, if you study the structure of protein, these are long chain peptide bonds like this. So they have to be hydrolyzed in the body, correct? You cannot directly absorb it like this. So then there is a requirement for hydrolysis of protein, which is carried out by one of the enzymes, that is carboxypeptidase A. Okay, and hydrolysis by carboxypeptidase A occurs only if the C terminal residue, that is this residue which you can see here, the C terminal residue, it should have S configuration and its carboxyl group should be free. That is, it should not be like attached to some other substrate here or here. So one thing is it should have S configuration, and its carboxyl group should be free. And peptide possessing any C terminal residue can be hydrolyzed except for proline. So it cannot hydrolyze proline. Except for that, anything else can undergo hydrolysis. So there are three forms of this bovine pancreatic carboxypeptidase, that is three different forms of carboxypeptidase A, that is A alpha, A beta and A gamma. What is the difference? The number of amino acid residues that are present are different in all three. Like it is 307 in A alpha, 305 in A beta and 300 in 3 A gamma. Okay. And also A beta and A gamma are comparatively shorter at the end terminal compared to A alpha. And this is an example and how the hydrolysis at the carboxyl terminal is carried out, and this reaction is catalyzed by carboxypeptidase. You can see here this is a carboxy terminal and its hydrolysis is carried out, as in it is broken off from the long chain, and you can see it is being separated. So, at neutral pH, if you try to do this reaction in the absence of this enzyme, it is a very slow reaction and its rate constant is around 10 to the power minus 11 second inverse. What is the main reason why we are using an enzyme? An enzyme is a catalyst, like a catalyst which can catalyze or make these biological reactions occur faster at a faster rate. So if you do this reaction in the absence of this carboxypeptidase enzyme, it is very, very slow. However, if you do it in the presence of an enzyme, the rate changes to 10 to the power 4 second inverse. Okay. And then the CPDA, that is carboxypeptidase A, you know that it's been produced in your pancreas, but initially when it is produced, it is in inactive form, that is in the form of procarboxypeptidase A. That is the inactive form of this enzyme. And you know that every enzyme, it requires activation. In order to function, it needs to be activated. That activation is done by another enzyme, that is enteropeptidase, which comes and oxidizes this inactive form of the enzyme to become active. Next is we are studying about the structure of carboxypeptidase A. So this is how the structure looks like. It consists of a single protein chain and its molecular weight is around 34,300 Dalton. And what is the metalloprotein or metal that is present in this protein? That is a zinc in the form of Zn plus 2. And you know that here you can see that zinc here has five coordination sites or five coordinations. Two of them are from imidazole nitrogen from two histidine residues, that is histidine 69 and histidine 196. So you can see two coordinations are from this nitrogen of the histidine 69 and histidine 196. And the other two are from two carboxylate oxygens of the glutamate 72. So this is glutamate 72 and these two coordinations are from the carboxylate oxygens of this glutamate 72, and the last coordination, that is fifth one, is from the water molecule. You can see here it is because of water molecule, and because of all this one two three four five coordinations on the zinc, it has a penta coordination geometry, that is a slightly distorted penta coordination geometry, penta as in 5. Okay. And other than this, there are many other acidic and basic amino acids, namely all these amino acids are present, which are also important for this enzyme to function, like asparagine 144, and there is arginine, there is tyrosine, and arginine 127 is also there. Other than that, there is glutamate 270, etc. So these are all the additional amino acids that are present that help in functioning of this enzyme. And also it has a small hydrophobic pocket here, you can see, and its function is it accumulates or accommodates the non-polar R of the amino acid substrate which is undergoing hydrolysis. That is, if this is undergoing hydrolysis, so this part is supposed to be broken, and here this part will be the non-polar R group that will be accommodated in this pocket during the process of hydrolysis. Next, we are studying about the mechanism, how it does this hydroxylation of the C terminal and how the C terminal is cut off. So this is very important, students, catalytic mechanism of carboxypeptidase A. So how does it actually start is told in this slide. In this mechanism, the water molecule that is coordinated to the zinc, it plays a very, very important role. So this water molecule that is bound, it is on interaction with this glutamate 270, that is an amino acid chain that is present. It is converted into hydroxide, that is OH. Okay. And because of that, it is becoming nucleophilic hydroxide, because of which it then attacks the carbonyl carbon of the peptide bond, that is the carbonyl carbon which is supposed to be removed. That is, wait. This carbonyl carbon, which is supposed to be cut off from the peptide bond, it is being attacked by which group? The hydroxide group that is produced by the removal of this H plus ion. So we will study the mechanism. This is how the four stages, how this reaction actually proceeds. So in simple, I will tell you what actually happens. So this is your carboxypeptidase protein that is there initially, and these are all the amino acid residues that are surrounding the carboxypeptidase. Now, how did I say the reaction proceeds? Step number one is your the substrate that whose carboxyl head is supposed to be cut off comes and orients or stands near the enzyme. Okay. Now you know that this is a hydrophobic part where or hydrophobic pocket which accumulates the non-protein non-polar part. So this is a non-polar part which does not need any reaction to be carried out. This is a polar part. You can see there is C double bond over here which is supposed to be cut off from this molecule. So between this nitrogen and carbon, one cut has to be made and this chain has to be separated from this part. That is what is to be done. Okay. So as soon as this substrate comes and places itself over here, there is hydrogen bonding forming between all the amino acid chains that are present here with the different parts of this substrate. So there is hydrogen bonding forming in the step number one with all of the parts of the substrate. Secondly, there is hydrogen one bond formation between the ARG127, which is also one of the amino acid residues that is there here, and the oxygen of the carbonyl group, that is C double bond O group is there. No, the oxygen and ARG forms one bond here, because of which this is becoming more nucleophilic in nature and which causes the shifting of electrons of the C double bond O bond onto oxygen. So it's very simple. There's a bond formation between ARG127 and this oxygen. Not like a bond, a pull exists between this oxygen and ARG127, because of which this pi electrons of the carbonyl group migrates onto oxygen. Now you know that if this bond shifts onto oxygen, what is the charge on this oxygen? It gets a partial negative charge on itself. And what is the charge on this carbon? That carbon gets a partial positive charge. Simultaneously here, as we studied in the previous step, the water, it is getting converted into hydroxide here. That is, one H goes out as H plus and goes and gets attached to this, that is protonation of glutamate 270 takes place. That is, this H goes and attaches to this oxygen which has a negative charge. So what charge will this oxygen get here? Because this H is going out as H plus, this oxygen will get a negative charge. This carbon is having a positive charge. Because of that, this oxygen will form a bond with this carbon. Now let us go to step number 3. You have seen that this bond has migrated on the oxygen. So it has a negative charge and this carbon had a positive charge. This oxygen had a negative charge, because of which this oxygen formed a bond with this carbon. One more thing in step number B, you should note that here zinc is a polydentate, or it has 5 coordination. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth coordination is with this glutamate only. So here it actually has two. This is a bidentate ligand. So it is supposed to have 2 coordinations with glutamate 72. But here, since zinc has only 4 coordination, but it should be pentacoordinate. So zinc wants to form that 5th coordination with some other atom. Which atom is available here? Here oxygen is there, which has a minus charge on itself. So it is electron rich. So zinc forms its 5th coordination with this oxygen. Why does this happen? Glutamate, which was bidentate initially, gets converted into monodentate ligand, because of which zinc is short of one bond. So zinc forms that 5th bond with this oxygen. Okay. That is step number 3. And also this glutamate group, it gets reversed. That is, the OH, that the H plus it has taken from here and it becomes reversed like this in structure, complete ulta. And then here you can see in step number C, there is back migration of this minus charge which had moved on to oxygen. It migrates back between carbon and oxygen. So now since it migrates back, this carbon has how many bonds? Carbon will have maximum of 4 bonds. You can see here it has 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds are already there now. But if this minus charge migrates back and forms a bond with this carbon and oxygen, there will be 5 bonds, which is because of which carbon can never have 5 bonds, correct, because of which it should get rid of any one of its other bond. So what does this carbon do? There is a breaking of bond between this carbon and nitrogen, and because nitrogen is highly electronegative, what does it do? It pulls these electrons of the carbon nitrogen bond towards itself. So there's a bond cleavage over here, and carbon gets 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds are got by carbon, so it does not have any charge on itself. So there is one bond forming and one bond that is breaking. So carbon does not have any charge on itself. Now nitrogen here, since it has taken up electrons from this carbon nitrogen bond, it becomes electron rich, because of which it attacks onto one H atom and it takes up one H atom from this glutamate 270. Okay, so that it can form NH2. Okay, so in step number also there's one more thing that is taking place here. So you can see here OH is there, here double bond O is there. This double bond shifts onto oxygen as O minus, and then since O has a minus charge, it will take up this proton, that is H plus, from this OH group. So it will get OH, glutamate OH, and here what has happened? One proton has been removed by the nitrogen atom. So this minus charge, because H goes out as H plus, minus charge shifts back between carbon and oxygen. So you get the glutamate group back. This one H has been taken out by the nitrogen, and this one new H has been given from this bond, that is OH bond. So what do you get now? This group becomes NH2, and we have completed our work. Actually, we wanted to break this bond, correct, carbon and nitrogen, and we wanted to separate this CO group from this whole chain. So that is done. This has now become C double bond O. This bond is broken here. So this chain is free to move out. And we have cut off the head, that is the carbonyl terminal. And glutamate 270 is back with its original structure. Now last step that is not shown here, but what happens is this zinc metalloprotein retains back its structure by addition of water molecule. So these are the steps. That is how a simple way I explained it to you. These are the steps that is happening here actually. The first step is the position of the substrate on the enzyme, that is shown in figure 4b. You can see that substrate is positioned next to the enzyme. And how are they connected to the enzyme? There is a hydrogen bond formation with all the that is arginine, asparagine, and all of them, they form hydrogen bonding with the substrate that is coming. And here in the hydrophobic pocket, there is van der Waals force of attraction to the terminal aromatic group that is in the hydrophobic pocket. So everywhere over here there is hydrogen bond forming, and here that is the aromatic group that is there in the hydrophobic pocket. It cannot form hydrogen bonding because it is non-polar in nature. So here there is a weak van der Waals force of attraction that exists. Next, step number 2, the interaction of arginine 127 with carbonyl terminal, it makes it more acidic, and it makes it more susceptible to nucleophilic addition. What they're telling is, because of this interaction that I already told you, this group is becoming more susceptible to nucleophilic addition, that is there is migration of the C double bond O on the oxygen atom. Step number 3 is then the water molecule bonds to the zinc and it performs the nucleophilic attack. Okay, so you can see here water molecule, it bonds to this H goes out, because of which this becomes OH minus, and this performs the attack on carbon, because of which the bond formation takes place. A nucleophilic attack is carried out and bond formation takes place. And why does that zinc form that fifth coordination here? zinc forms this fifth coordination with this oxygen, that is explained in this step. That is because of the monodentate, that glutamate 72, which was actually bidentate, it becomes monodentate, because of which, to maintain 5 coordination on the zinc ion, it forms fifth coordination with this oxygen, and that process is called as carboxylate shift. Okay. And last, what happens next? The protonation of glutamate 270 takes place. That is, this it takes up this proton from here, so it undergoes protonation here of the glutamate 370. And what happens to its proton? Its proton is given to the amide group. So you can see here, it undergoes protonation, that is takes up one H from here, but its proton is given to the amide group over here. And the next step is, this causes the collapse of tetrahedral intermediate, resulting in the formation of free carbonyl terminal amino acid and the shortened polypeptide chain. So you can see that because of this step, that is this hydrogen taken up by nitrogen and this bond breaking here, there is the chain is being shortened. That is what we wanted. And finally, the water molecule adds to zinc and it comes back to its original structure. So this is how this reaction proceeds. Next, another type of metalloprotein as an enzyme is carbonic anhydrase. So this was one of the first zinc metalloenzyme that was known and discovered in 1970. And what is its function is that it catalyzes the hydration of carbon dioxide to form bicarbonate ions. So you can see this hydration of carbon dioxide getting converted into bicarbonate in the presence of water. So that is catalyzed by carbonic anhydrase. So in the absence of this enzyme, you know that this reaction, any reaction in the absence of an enzyme, it becomes very, very slow. And the presence of this enzyme, it increases the rate around million folds. And it also, other than this, it catalyzes several other reactions such as hydrolysis of ester and hydration of aldehydes, etc. So it is also found in all kingdoms of life, that is present in animals, plants and different bacteria, and it plays a very important role in several biological reactions where there is electron transport required. Main ones are respiration, photosynthesis, and also in maintaining the pH. And there are different forms of carbonic anhydrase that are known, and all of them, they are single chain polypeptide and molecular mass is around 30,000 Dalton, and each of them, they have one zinc ion per molecule. And the high activity, some of them, they have high activity rate, that is around 10 to the power 6, and these at around 25 degrees Celsius, and these are labeled as number 2 type of enzymes. They have very high activity. There are also the ones that have relatively low activity, that is rate is around 10 to the power 5 or 10 to the power 3. These are labeled as 1 and 3. So out of 1, 2 and 3, 2 is the best one because it has high activity. And the best studied carbonic anhydrase, that is carbonic anhydrase 2, that is from the red blood cell, that is present in humans in their red blood cell. So we are studying about this one that has high activity, that is carbonic anhydrase 2. Where is it present? It is present in human red blood cells. So this is a structure of active site of human carbonic anhydrase. So it is composed of 259 amino acid, and it has a main active site, that is the zinc that is present here, that is a zinc ion. And it all, why is this zinc important? It helps in the activation of water molecule, that is, this is a water molecule H2O that is present. The activation of this site is done by zinc. And why is water required? You know that for this reaction, that is hydration of carbon dioxide to bicarbonate ion, requires water, and this water is obtained from here, and the activation of this water is done by the zinc ion. And the zinc, other than the water, it is coordinated to nitrogen of the imidazole ring of the three histidine residues, that is histidine 96, histidine 94 and histidine 119. So it is coordinated to three nitrogens, and the three histidine NH proteins, they are engaged in nitrogen bonding. So can you here see the dots here? These indicate that these three nitrogens of the histidine, they are engaged in nitrogen bonding, and they are involved in hydrogen bonding with the glutamine 96, asparagine 96, and glutamate 117. That is, they form not nitrogen, sorry, they are involved in hydrogen bonding with these amino acid residues that are present surrounding here. Although it is not shown, they are all present here, the amino acid residues with which these nitrogens, they form a hydrogen bonding. And the fourth coordination, 3 from the nitrogen, fourth coordination is satisfied by the water molecule, because of which the zinc gets a tetrahedral geometry. And the active side pocket contains ordered network of water molecule and other amino acids. They are important. So there is a side pocket. Now you cannot see it here, but there is a side pocket which contains a network of these different amino acids as well as water molecule, and they are also important for hydrogen bonding and proton transfer and binding to the substrate. That side pocket is very important because the substrate comes and attaches itself. Like you saw previously, the substrate comes and sits next to the enzyme for the reaction to carry out. So that side pocket is very important. So let's study how is the mechanism of conversion of this carbon dioxide group to the bicarbonate ion taking place in the presence of carbonic anhydrates. So here one thing you have to know under the mechanism is that the zinc is a Lewis acid here that is present. The zinc ion that is present in carbonic anhydrase, it is more acidic compared to the previous protein, that is carboxypeptidase. So zinc that is present here, that is in the carbonic anhydrase, it is much more acidic compared to that of the zinc present in the carboxypeptidase. And how does this reaction proceed? The binding of water to the zinc reduces the pKa of water from normal 14 to down to 7. This leads to deprotonation and to form strong hydroxide nucleophile. So this is the mechanism how this conversion of carbon dioxide to carbonic acid proceeds. Now you can see that here the binding of water, this is a your carbonic anhydrase. Here you know that there is OH and one more H is there. This is the enzyme initially that is there. And this water that is bound to zinc, because of binding of water to the zinc, what happens? The pKa value of that water is reduced to 7, because of which deprotonation occurs and the dissociated proton is transferred to histidine 64 via water molecule. This histidine 64 shuttles the proton between the active site and the buffer solution, and then favors the direction of the reaction towards the forward, that is to formation of hydroxide ion. Now I'll clearly explain to you what are these three steps telling you actually. So that they are telling us that let us take this enzyme that is carbonic anhydrase. Now initially there is one water molecule here, correct? This is structure, there is one water molecule that is attached to the zinc. These three histidines, they are not shown as rings, they are just written as histidine chains here, but it is understood. So as soon as this binding takes place, this pKa of value of this water is reduced to 7 from 14, because of which deprotonation takes place. Now here you can see deprotonation has already taken place. This one hydrogen is lost. As soon as that hydrogen is lost, that hydrogen goes and attaches into this histidine 64. Can you see here histidine 64? That hydrogen that is lost here goes and attaches to this histidine 64, to the nitrogen of histidine 64. What does this histidine 64 do? It shuttles this hydrogen between itself and the buffer solution. So this hydrogen from histidine 64 once is present here, once it is sent to the buffer solution where it becomes, the buffer solution becomes BH plus. Once again that is given back to this histidine 64. That is called as shuttling of proton between this histidine 64 and the buffer solution. Because of this, what happens? the equilibrium is shifted towards the forward direction, that is this direction, and it favors the formation of this hydroxide. Can you see here? Initially, it was water molecule. One proton was lost. That proton goes and accumulates here in histidine 64. This histidine 64 shuttles that proton between the buffer solution and itself. Because of that, the equilibrium is shifted in forward direction and it favors the formation of hydroxide ion. This is just step number one. Next, what happens after all this has happened? There is a favoring of formation of hydroxide ion because of the equilibrium being shifted in this direction. Next, our carbon dioxide comes. It is a substrate and comes and sits next to the enzyme. Now you know that this is a hydroxide ion, so this oxygen will have a partial negative charge on itself. Here the carbon dioxide has come and sat next to the enzyme to be converted into HCO3 minus. Now here there is a shifting in the carbonyl group. There is a shifting of electrons of this pi bond onto oxygen. So this oxygen gets a negative charge and this carbon gets a positive charge here. Since this oxygen has a negative charge and this carbon has a positive charge, in the next step that oxygen forms a bond with that carbon, and now this oxygen has a negative charge, that is this oxygen having a negative charge. What happens in the next step? Here you can see zinc here has how many coordination? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Zinc has 1, 2, 3 and 4 coordination. But zinc should have how many coordination? It should have, it is a pentacoordinate species. So it should have 5 coordination. So what does the zinc do? It forms, since there is a minus charge, that is this oxygen is electron rich, zinc forms a bond with this oxygen. So here you can see this is a bond that is formed between, new bond that is formed between zinc and oxygen. So in this step, don't get confused students. They have just reverse this, written this ulta. You can write it as such. They've just reversed it and written, and a new bond formation takes place, that is between this zinc and this oxygen having the negative charge. Next, what happens? Next, there is an addition of water molecule to the zinc, to the central zinc atom. There is an addition of water molecule, but zinc cannot be more than 5, cannot have more than 5 coordination. Zinc is pentacoordinate, it cannot exceed its coordination more than 5. So in order to take this water molecule here to form a bond with water molecule, it has to break one of its bond. Out of these 5 bonds, it has to break one of its bonds. So what does zinc do? It breaks this bond between itself and this OH group. This bond is there, no, that is broken in this particular step. So here red mark is there, that bond is broken here. So zinc is still connected to O, C double bond O, OH, that is seen over here, plus it forms a new bond with the water molecule that has come. Now this entire group is what we wanted, the product, that is HCO3 minus. H you can see, C you can 3, SC, and there are 3 oxygens. So this entire part leaves the zinc molecule as minus HCO3 minus, and zinc is left with its OHH. Okay, and this is, we are coming back to the original step, that is zinc losing, that is it is coming back. Actually the reaction starts from here, this bottom line, where zinc has zinc has a water molecule having OH and H. This is where the reaction proceeds, and this proton, once again we are going back through the same cycle. The cycle keeps repeating. This proton is lost. Why? Because the pKa value of water is reduced to 7, and this proton is lost and given to this histidine 64. And what does this histidine 64 do? Once again same thing, it shuttles this proton between the buffer solution and itself, because of which forward reaction is favored and because of which hydroxide is formed. Next, again the reaction continues. So when you are studying, from where will you start studying? From this is step number 1, from where this reaction proceeds. So this is a mechanism of how carbonic anhydrase it works. Next, we are studying Next type of protein is liver alcoholic dehydrogenase. So, as the name tells you, it is alcoholic dehydrogenase. It belongs to the oxidoreductase family of enzyme. And these LADH, what do? They do dehydrogenation reaction. And dehydrogenation, that is removal of hydrogen, is also called as oxidation. So they can be, you can tell that their function is either dehydrogenation or oxidation of primary and secondary alcohol. And what do primary and secondary alcohol on oxidation they give? They give aldehydes and ketones. So you can see here an alcohol is taken in the presence of liver alcoholic dehydrogenase. They're getting converted into ketone. And also in this reaction, along with that thing happening, the NADH is converted into the NAD plus is converted into NADH here, because there is removal of one hydrogen, correct? That hydrogen and goes and attached to the NAD plus to give NADH. So what is the structure of liver alcoholic dehydrogenase? The overall structure is complicated, so they do not show it. But these are some of the two important parts of the liver alcoholic dehydrogenase, that is the catalytic zinc and the structural zinc. So LADH consists of two polypeptide subunits, each having a molecular mass of 40 Dalton, and each of the subunits has two zinc ions that binds to one molecule of NAD plus. So it has two subunits, and each of the subunits has two zinc ions. So total it will have four zinc ions, and each of the subunit is dimeric enzyme, and it is divided into two sites, that is coenzyme binding domain and catalytic domains. These two sites, they are separated by a cleft containing a deep pocket, and both zinc ions are present in the catalytic domain. So where will you see these two zinc ions? Both of them are present in the catalytic domain, and one of the zinc is called as a catalytic zinc, and the second zinc has a structural role. So it is called as a structural zinc. That is, this takes part in the catalytic reaction. This does not take part in the catalytic reaction, but it is important for maintaining the structure of the enzyme. So it is called as a structural zinc. The catalytic zinc, let us study individually about both of this. This is located at the bottom of the hydrophobic pocket in the surface of the protein. And see what and all the zinc here has four coordination. And what and all is it coordinated to? First thing, it is coordinated to two cysteine sulfur. You can see 6946 and cysteine 174. And one more coordination is satisfied by nitrogen of histidine 67. And the last, that is fourth coordination, is satisfied by water. Overall, because of the four coordination, you can see it is like a pyramid. So it has, with the zinc in the center, so it has a tetrahedral geometry. Now what about structural zinc? Even structural zinc, it has four coordination. Four of its coordinations, they are satisfied by the sulfur, that is cysteine thiolate ligands, that is cysteine 97, cysteine 111, cysteine 103, and cysteine 100. And even this, it is said to have a tetrahedral geometry. Next, we are studying about how is its catalytic mechanism. So the mechanism of liver alcoholic dehydrogenase, this is a structural representation. First step is the coenzyme NAD plus. So here remember students, NAD plus acts as a coenzyme to this liver alcoholic dehydrogenase, that is LADH. What does a coenzyme tell me? It works along with the enzyme, and it helps to, speed up the enzyme activity. So it is like a friend to the enzyme who is working along with the enzyme to complete the same motive. That is, this is also helping in reduction of alcohol to give aldehyde or ketone. It is also working along with the enzyme, so it is called as a coenzyme, working along with the enzyme. So what does this do? Step number one is, this is the NAD plus that comes and binds. This is step number one, where you have only the LADH, sorry, the liver alcoholic dehydrogenase, correct, and it is in open form now. Next step, what happens? You can see plus NAD plus, which is a coenzyme, it comes and binds. At this stage, how is the enzyme? It is in the open form. Next, what happens once the coenzyme has come and bound? Where will the coenzyme bind? There is a site on the protein that is called as a coenzyme binding site or coenzyme binding domain, which we already studied in the structural part. Okay, so there this NAD plus comes and binds. Next step, the substrate alcohol enters the cleft between catalytic domain and coenzyme binding domain and displaces the water molecule coordinating to the catalytic zinc. So you can see here alcohol, from where does it enter? It enters here in between the catalytic domain, that is, this is a catalytic domain and this is a coenzyme binding domain. So somewhere in between this it comes and it enters here. You can see here alcohol molecule coming and entering over here, so it enters between these both and it coordinates to the water molecule, displacing the water molecule that is attached to the zinc. So you can see here zinc is attached to OH2, that is, zinc is attached to this water molecule. So what happens here, one of the H is lost as H plus ion and the carbon comes and forms a bond with this oxygen, which has lost one hydrogen. So this water molecule comes in between the catalytic domain and coenzyme binding domain and comes and forms a bond with this oxygen, and one of the H is lost. Now remember students, in this step only one H is lost. Water has two hydrogens. In the next step, you can see only one hydrogen is lost, and here the alcohol molecule is come and bound. Okay, the carbon of the alcohol is bound over here. Now what happens in the next step? The rotation of the domain, because of this alcohol coming and binding here, changes the LADH enzyme into closed form and all the water molecule are excluded out from the active site. So now you can see here, because of this alcohol coming and binding here, the protein changes from open form to closed form, and in closed form all the water molecules that were there within the protein or the enzyme is thrown out. Okay, they are removed from the system. And also this is the oxygen bound proton is removed from the zinc coordinated alcohol. So you can see that initially in step number 2 only one hydrogen was removed and alcohol molecule came and got bound over here. In next step what happens, one this proton is there, no, the oxygen bound proton, one proton which is still left, that is also removed. Only after that the enzyme attains the closed form, and in closed form all the water molecules are removed out. Next what happens, this is followed by transfer of hydride from alcohol CH to the nicotinamide ring. So this NAD plus is called as a nicotinamide ring. This is a nicotinamide ring. There is a transfer of proton. So can you see here there is a CH bond, correct? From the alcohol that is come and bound to the zinc. This proton connected to this carbon, this proton is transferred to this, that is the NAD plus. So there is a conversion of NAD plus to NADH, because NAD plus was initially proton deficient. Next it got a proton. Correct. Can you see here? There is a CH. Initially it had only one CH bond. Now here it has two CH bond. Where has this H come from? From the alcohol molecule that gave one of its proton, because of which there is a conversion of NAD plus to NADH. And what happens here, students? See, carbon should have four bonds, correct? Here it has four bonds, but in this step I told you that this hydrogen is leaving this carbon and going and forming a bond with this particular carbon. So what happens here to this carbon? It's now electron deficient, that it has only three bonds. So one oxygen that is there here, it forms a double bond with this carbon. So now carbon is back to having four covalents. Even here you can see this carbon already had one, two, three, four bonds here. Because of this coming additional hydrogen that is coming, it will get valency 5. which carbon cannot have. So this pi bond migrates over here. Can you see this migration of pi bond over here? This coenzyme structure also changes. What happens next? The product aldehyde leaves the catalytic zinc 2 and it retains its original coordination by attaching to water molecule. Now you can see here, this is a ketone molecule, RC double bond O R dash. So this product, it leaves the molecule, this it leaves this molecule completely, and the zinc enzyme, it attains its original configuration by attaching itself or reacting with one water molecule. So you can see there is elimination of ketone or aldehyde group, and there is attached addition of water that gets attached to the zinc atom, and zinc retains its original position and continues the cycle like this. So can we just summarize what did we study? What happens first? There is this enzyme. First step is coming and attaching of coenzyme, that is NAD plus. At this stage it is in open form. Then there is entry of alcohol, which is supposed to be converted to aldehyde or ketone molecule. So alcohol enters in between the enzyme binding site and the coenzyme binding site here in between. Then it forms a bond over here, as you can see. First it replaces one H and forms a bond with this oxygen. In the next step, what happens? One more proton is lost, that is this proton is lost. At this point the protein, it attains a closed configuration, and all the water molecules are removed out in the closed configuration. What happens next? There is one CH bond, one H from the CH migrating onto the NAD plus to give NADH, and here there is, in order to maintain the carbon's valency, there is double bond formation. And after that, once this is being formed, the ketone molecule is removed, or a product aldehyde, or if it is ketone is being removed from here, from this side completely, it is cut off, and water molecule is added back to zinc so that we can get the original enzyme back. Next, we are studying about catalases and peroxidases, which are also one important metalloproteins. So let's begin with catalases, which is one of the most important heme-containing enzyme. What does it do? It carries down the breakdown of hydrogen peroxide into water molecule and oxygen. So what happens in our body during different reactions in any organism that takes up, which is exposed to oxygen, in different organic reactions, there is a production of hydrogen peroxide, that is H2O2 in the body. And if this H2O2 is accumulated in the body, it is not good for our body working and cells. So this H2O2 has to be further broken down into its simplest compounds, that is water and oxygen. This work is done by the enzyme that is called as catalases, that is present in the body. So it is found extensively in all living organisms who are exposed to oxygen, and this enzyme, it protects our organelles and tissues from the harmful effect of H2O2 by this is generated in many metabolic reaction. Okay, this reaction catalases, it does the reaction of decomposition of hydrogen peroxide in the living tissue. So you can see H2O2 in the presence of the enzyme catalase, it decomposes the H2O2 to give water and oxygen. So you can see this is H2O2, and we have added catalase enzyme, and there is bubble formation in the beaker, that is telling us that oxygen is being removed, and this liquid that is left behind is water. So this is a function of catalase in our body. What is it? It is the decomposition of this harmful H2O2 that is produced in the body to give simpler non-poisonous compounds, that is water and oxygen. Now, what is the structure? It has a very complex structure. It is tetramer having four polypeptide chains. So you can see four of this crumpled chain, yellow, green, red and blue. These are the four polypeptide chain of the catalases, consisting of 500 amino acid, and each of these monomer, it consists of where is that heme protein that is present? It consists of iron. porphyrin ring that is embedded within the catalytic center. So each of this, can you see small spherical bubble like structure here? So those are this iron porphyrin ring that is there in each of this monomer. So each of it has one and one of that iron porphyrin ring. And also here it is evident that each heme unit, it is exposed to funnel shaped channel which is about 30 Armstrong long and 50 Armstrong wide. So there's a channel that is connecting this heme group to this polypeptide chain which is about 30 Armstrong and 50 Armstrong wide, and it is lined by hydrophilic residue at the entrance and hydrophobic residues where the channel ends. Okay, and let us speak about this heme group. The Fe ion that is present in +3 oxidation state, that is in high spin, is coordinated to the 4 nitrogens of the porphyrin ring. Here you can see that iron has only 4 coordination. The fifth coordination and the sixth coordination, they are occupied. Fifth coordination is occupied by phenolate oxygen of the tyrosyl residue, and the sixth coordination, it is occupied by the water molecule. So the sixth coordination that is occupied by the iron of by the water molecule to the iron, that is only temporary, and during the reaction the sixth coordination is displaced by H2O2, and it is a structural rigidity of the catalases that imparts stability. That is, this catalase should be very stable under different pH and during high thermal heat and everything. So because of this heme protein, there is a structural rigidity, because you know that in heme backbone there is alternate single and double bond, because of which there is migration of pi electron, conjugation is present. This structural rigidity makes it rigid at any type of pH and temperature in our body. So next is mode of action, how this catalase works. So the exact mechanism of catalase is not known, but it is understood that it takes place in two steps, that is two stages, in which the heme ion is, in one step it is oxidized, in the next step it is reduced by hydrogen peroxide at the active site. So you can see there are two molecules of H2O2, and the same catalase enzyme reacts with two molecules of H2O2 finally to give water and oxygen. And you have to also note that by the end of the reaction there is two water molecule, although it's not mentioned here, two water molecules are given out. So yeah, it is mentioned here. You can see one water from step number 1, one more water molecule given from step number 2. So overall there are two water molecules given out and one oxygen that is given out. That's how two H2O2 molecule is converted into two molecules of water and oxygen. So the first step involves the oxidation of heme to oxyferryl species. That is this. This is the oxyferryl species by one of the H2O2 molecule. And in the second step, it involves the regeneration of enzyme. That is, enzyme should be obtained back, correct, once the reaction is complete. That happens in the second step by another hydrogen peroxide molecule that to produce water and oxygen. Now let us understand how does this mechanism proceed. So this is your catalase enzyme, and here actually there will be OHH, that is water, that will be attached in the sixth coordination side of the catalase enzyme, which we already studied. But whenever there is H2O2 in the medium, what happens? That water is replaced by H2O2. So that is shown over here. Now that water that was there here in the sixth coordination side of the ion is replaced by H2O2. So during the catalytic reaction, H2O2 interacts with the catalase by displacing the water molecule and coordinating through one of its oxygen. That is what they are telling here in the sixth coordination side. The water that was there is replaced, and it is replaced by H2O2, and H2O2 coordinates to the ion through the oxygen. Now what happens next is the hydrogen bound to the coordinated oxygen gets hydrogen bonded to the nitrogen atom of the imidazole nitrogen of the histidine residue. So this hydrogen is there. No, there is histidine residue that is present around here. So this hydrogen forms a hydrogen bonding with this nitrogen atom. Because of this bonding taking place, this oxygen that is attached next to the hydrogen gets a delta positive charge, a small positive charge on itself. And here, because one oxygen is getting a small positive charge, the next, this is a peroxo species, correct? Because this is getting a delta positive charge, this oxygen will get a delta negative charge. So the other oxygen atom develops a delta negative charge further by electrostatic interaction with the positive charge on the arginyl residue. So they're telling that because of this oxygen getting plus, this is getting negative. Also, because it is interacting with this arginine residue, this oxygen gets a negative charge. So can you see charge separation here? Whenever there is charge separation, there is cleavage of the molecule. So this molecule, that peroxo bond, cleaves at this side. So there is a breakage of this peroxo bond, and also there is a cleavage at this side. And what happens? One molecule of water leaves, that is OH and H. This molecule also cleaves, this molecule also cleaves. It is left with one neutral oxygen here, and one molecule of water goes out from this compound. So what happens to this oxygen? There's a charge separation between the peroxo oxygen, and it leads to heterolytic fission that I already explained, and there is removal of one molecule of water because this oxygen combines with these two hydrogens to form water. This, what happens to this oxygen? The later, that is the oxygen that has left, this oxygen combines with 2H forming water molecule. The neutral oxygen, that is this oxygen, it takes up two electrons forming O2 minus. From where does it take two electron? One electron comes from Fe3 forming Fe4. You can see that here it is Fe3, here it has become Fe4. Why is that? Because it has given one of its electron to this oxygen, and one more electron, that's the second electron, it comes from the porphyrate ring. So the ring had the -2 charge initially. Next, it has -1 charge because it is giving one electron to this oxygen. Then there is, because of that, there is a formation of double bond O here. Okay, and this is now in the form of O2 minus, and this is called as compound 1. It is an active oxidant, and in catalase, one molecule of H2O2 takes place in the formation of compound number 1. Can we, this is just the step number 1, that is formation of compound number 1. Can we summarize what is happening once again? So here water molecule was there in the 6th coordination of the ion. H2O2 comes and attaches over there. After that, the H part, through oxygen it attaches. The H part forms a hydrogen bonding with the histidyl residue of the nitrogen, because of which this oxygen gets a partial positive charge. And the other oxygen, because of this getting a positive charge, it gets a small delta negative charge. Also because of arginine that is present next to it, this oxygen gets a delta negative charge. After that, there is a cleavage of this bond because there is charge separation taking place, and this oxygen goes out and takes up these two hydrogen atom to give out water molecule. Okay, and this oxygen is present as neutral oxygen. Now this oxygen takes up two electron, one electron from this Fe and one electron from this porphyrate ring, and becomes O2 2 minus. Okay, and there's a double bond formation. Now this ion, because it has given one electron to this oxygen, it becomes 4. The coordination number changes to 4. After that, this is the formation of coordination number 1. One H2O2 molecule we have already used up. What is the next step? So this much we studied already. This is the step number 1. We are in compound number 1 now. So in catalase, one molecule of H2O2 takes place in the formation of compound number 1. That is this much. Now this O2 minus of the second H2O2 molecule. There's one more H2O2 molecule, correct? So this O2 minus of the second H2O2 molecule, what does it do? It loses two electrons in steps to compound number 1. Because it loses two electrons, this O2 minus of the second H2O2 molecule loses two electrons to compound number 1. Because it loses two electrons in two steps, one electron is taken by this Fe and it goes back to its 3 electron state, correct? And one electron is taken by this porphyrate ring, which goes back to the 2 minus state, correct? Why? Because in this step, porphyrin ring gave one electron to compound number 1 and one electron was given by Fe3, so it got converted into Fe4. That much happened in this step. So Fe got converted into Fe4. In this step, what happens? This H2O2, second H2O2 molecule loses 2 electron. That helps in retaining back Fe4 to Fe3 and getting back the porphyrin ring 2 minus to 2 minus. Okay. And then what happens? Because it loses 2 electrons, this H2O2 breaks down to forming O2 and 2H plus. And then this O2 minus that is there, it combines with that 2H plus that is given out by H2O2 to form water. What is this water? This is this water which was released. This water molecule which was already released in step number 1. They have written it here. Okay. Next, in this step, what happens? This has released 2 electrons and Fe has gone back to Fe3. The ring has gone back to 2 minus state and the 2 H plus combines with this O2 minus to give water molecule, one more water molecule. So by the end we have 2 water molecule and what else? There is one oxygen that is given out. So it is also, it is worth mentioning that the oxygen atom, that is this O2, both the oxygen comes from second molecule of H2O2. So have you understood, students? First there is a conversion of this H2O2, one H2O2 molecule to give this O2 minus. There is a formation of compound 1 which we studied in the previous slide. In the second step, what is happening? One more H2O2 molecule is coming. It is giving 2 electrons, one to Fe and one to the ring. After that, it is breaking. After giving out 2 electron, it is breaking down to one oxygen and 2H plus. That 2H plus will go and combine with this oxygen to form one more molecule of water. So by the end we have 2 molecules of water and that O2 is released out as O2 only. And so finally you're getting your catalase enzyme back as such. So last one is about peroxidases. Peroxidases also they have the same function as that of the catalases. That is, they catalyze the conversion of H2O2, which is a harmful chemical accumulated in the body, to H2O. Okay, so peroxidases they are also heme containing protein. They are found in plants and animals. They are also found in human. So they catalyze the oxidation of various compound by reducing peroxide ion to various other products like water and here there is no release of oxygen. Actually there is only conversion of one H2O2 molecule to 2 molecules of water in the presence of AH2. So it breaks down the hydrogen. It's also used for conversion of different other toxic products in biochemical reaction. Along with this, its main function is breakdown of hydrogen peroxide to form water, which cause damage to oxidizing property. That is this H2O2, if you already know, if it's accumulated in the body, it causes damage to various other cell and cell organelles. So it is being broken down by oxidases and peroxidases to water and oxygen in case of catalases, and here there is no oxygen that is being released. So we are learning about one of the oxidase, that is horseradish oxidase. It is an oxidative heme containing enzyme. It is derived from the roots of the horseradish plant. So it is called as horseradish peroxidase and it utilizes hydrogen peroxide to oxidize wide variety of organic as well as inorganic compounds. Okay, so horseradish peroxidase, one thing is that it is very brightly color and because of this it can be attached to several transparent proteins and they can be seen. You can detect several other transparent proteins which do not have any color. If you attach horseradish peroxidase to them, it gives them a characteristic color because of which you can detect them under different wavelength. And it's also, you should note that when it is combined to other compounds, it exhibits high reactivity, very good reactivity towards the human tumor cell. So it can also be utilized for removal of human tumor cell. Okay. Further, there are several distinctive peroxidase other than horseradish peroxidase. There are different distinguished peroxidase isoenzymes. One of the most known among this is C isoenzyme. Okay, but now we are going to study about particularly the horseradish peroxidase. As they said, there is a heme backbone here, even here, and it consists of two different types of metal center. One is a iron heme group, and there are two calcium atoms. Although calcium atoms are not shown here, there's an iron heme group. Also, there is two calcium atoms. Why are these calcium atoms required? They are required for structure and functional integrity of the enzyme. So this heme group, it has a planar structure with iron in the middle of the porphyrin ring. Okay, and heme group, it is attached to the proximal histidine, that is histidine 170, by a coordination bond between the nitrogen and the iron atom. And you know that iron has one more coordination site, which is often second axial coordination site, often called as a distal site of the heme protein. It is left as vacant. So iron's sixth coordination site is vacant. And why is it kept vacant? It is actually kept vacant for the hydrogen peroxide to be attached during the oxidation reduction reaction. So during the activation process, the bonding of hydrogen peroxide to the to the iron atom, it generates an octahedral configuration. Like this, it does not have an octahedral configuration because this site is vacant. But during its working, when this enzyme is in working state, it is attached in the sixth coordination H2O2. It is attached to oxygen of the H2O2, and that time it has a octahedral configuration. Now the working of this enzyme is same as how catalase works, but there is a small difference. Now what happens here in the first step, the enzyme, ferric enzyme, that is the central atom. This is the main active site, correct? That is present. Okay, that is in the ground state. Now there is one H2O2 molecule that is coming and attaching over here to the ferric enzyme. The oxygen part of the H2O2 molecule will come and attach over here. From there, there is conversion of H2O2 to water molecule. Now, like how we saw in catalases. See, this is how it happened in catalases. To the iron, the H2O2 molecule got added, and same way there was charge separation, and this water got eliminated. Same thing is happening. We did not show it in detail here, but that same thing, same process is happening here. There is the elimination of one water molecule which leaves behind Fe with double bond O. Okay. Now, to this, one of the H plus is given by this AH2 molecule. Can you see here? This AH2 molecule gives one of the H to this molecule. It forms a bond with this oxygen, and one electron is also given in the next step. And after that, in the third step, what happens? One more H is given because it is AH2, so it can give 2 H plus ion. So one more H is given out, and one more electron is also given out. So Fe4 gets converted because it gets 2 electron. Fe4 gets converted to back to Fe enzyme. And because one more H is given, that one more H adds over here. So what do we get? We get a water molecule which leaves this molecule, and we get the enzyme back. So what is happening? One H2O2 molecule gets added here. Remember, like how there in catalases we had two molecules of H2O2. Here we have only one molecule of H2O2 which will come and form a bond over here. So, and then there will be H2O2 getting converted into H2, which leaves behind one oxygen here on the iron. In the next step, what happens? One H plus and one electron is given by that AH2 molecule. That one H plus adds over here. And in the next step, what happens? One more electron and one more H plus is given. That one more H plus adds over here. So you can eliminate water, that is H2O, from this enzyme. And because of the addition of one more electron, this Fe4 gets converted to Fe3. Okay, and then finally you get the enzyme back. So that is the mechanism how the peroxidase enzyme works. In the first step, the redox reaction, horseradish peroxidase is a reaction between hydrogen peroxide bonds of to the vacant octahedral position of the iron atom, that is H2O2 getting attached to the vacant position of the iron atom, and there's an intermediate formation, that is component 1 and 2. These components, they are generated by electron either addition of electron or reaction with hydrogen peroxide. The reduction of component 1 to component 2 and component 2 back to the rest state, it is done by substrate, namely phenol or aromatic amine. That is nothing but this AH2. They are phenols or aromatic amines who supply this electron and H plus ion. So with this, we have finished some of the metalloprotein. Some more are left, which I'll be discussing in the next video. So thank you for attending my class. Students, take care and bye.